I want to talk to you today about states of matter and how what you don't know about states of matter might be making your life more difficult and challenging than it needs to be. Before I get into that, I want to tell you a little story. Back in 2010, I was struggling on every front. I was overweight, I was exhausted, I had chronic mid-back pain, I had miserable digestion, I was fighting with my husband every day, and I was broke, flat broke, and had been for a few years. And despite the fact that for the previous 2 decades, I had read hundreds, if not thousands, of self-help books, and I had attended many classes and workshops, but clearly something wasn't working because I wasn't rich and I wasn't fit and I wasn't happy. And that was probably the hardest part, was that I really wasn't happy no matter what inspirational things I tried to expose myself to. So something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And then one day, my son, who had just turned 12, came to the dinner table and he said, "Did you know that there's a 4th state of matter called plasma?" And I said, solid, liquid, gas. No. Somehow I managed to miss an entire state of plasma. I didn't learn about it in school. Did anybody learn about plasma in school? Right? I didn't. And he hadn't learned about it in school either. I had given him some books on science for his birthday, and that's where he got it from. So this was very intriguing to me that there was an entirely other state of matter. So I went and I started looking on it in the internet. And what I discovered was some very interesting things. So some people say that plasma makes up 99.99% of the universe. And most of us have never heard of it, right? So it's not blood plasma, because that's what most people think about when you say plasma. So what is plasma? Plasma is essentially the flow of electricity. Plasma is electricity. And it's everywhere. So what are some examples of plasma? So the sun is a plasma. The solar wind that we've been told is a hot gas is actually a flow of electricity from the sun to the earth and beyond. In fact, all of interstellar space, all of interplanetary space is actually a diffuse plasma. It can be very diffuse or it can be very concentrated. When it's very concentrated, we see it in things like lightning. Also things like northern lights are also a plasma. In fact, the environment all around us is actually a diffuse magnetic plasma. We, like fish, are swimming in the ocean. We're all constantly moving through plasma. And it isn't just outside of us, because it's also inside our own bodies. Our bodies are electric. And even though we've all been conditioned to think of them as chemical, as mechanical, like if something goes wrong in your body, then you need drugs or surgery to treat your chemistry and your mechanics. But on a very fundamental level, we are electric beings living in an electric environment. When we get an EKG, that's measuring the electrical activity of your heart. If you have to get a pacemaker, that is taking care of the electricity of your heart. If you get an EEG, it's measuring the electricity in your brain. And it's not just the heart and brain, because our fascia that covers our muscles also conducts electricity. Even our bones are piezoelectric, crystalline structures. And what that means is when you compress them, whether you dance or you run or you walk, you're actually making electricity at the very core of your being. And that electricity is radiating out into your body. So when you start to think about yourself as electric, what you really are is kind of like a battery. You're mostly salt water, and you have a charge running through you. You have voltage running through your system. So think of your electric health like a battery meter. And on a scale of 1 to 100, where do you fall? Where is your battery meter at? Right? And oftentimes when I ask people, they know this answer right away. They know exactly where their battery meter is at. It's very easy to tune in to where your battery meter is at. And what I did was I started thinking about my health and my well-being in terms of my electric body. I started thinking about what it would be to get my charge up. Because when our batteries go low, that's when we get things like chronic fatigue. That's when we end up with things like Epstein-Barr or other viruses. Your cells need a certain amount of electric charge across their membranes in order to keep you healthy. And so I know lots of people who eat clean and who take high quality supplements and who exercise, and their energy is still low because they're not thinking about or managing their electric health. When and how are you recharging? When and how are you discharging? Right? And if you start to think of yourself as a battery and you start to mind how you're spending your emotional energy, how you're spending your mental energy, how you're spending your physical energy, and you start to mind that meter, you'll find that your energy goes up. And learning about this has changed my life completely. It's helped me to get stronger, healthier. I've gotten rid of pain. I've fixed my digestion. And one of the things that's been so great is realizing that the same electricity that powers my body is the same electricity that powers the sun and the stars and the environment around me. That it's ultimately all one light. And that sense of angst and of separation and of depression even that I felt has lifted as I have come to sense and know on a visceral level that true abundance comes from connection. It comes from feeling connected. And that when your energy goes up, you get to express yourself in all kinds of ways that you couldn't when your energy and your battery is low. So I want to give you a very quick and simple exercise that you can do. There's lots of things you can do to raise your voltage, but this is one easy thing. Whenever you think about doing something, if it feels if it feels uplifting, that's something that's going to raise your battery. If it feels that's something that's going to lower your battery. And obviously lots of us have to do things that are right? But the more you find these opportunities to choose the more your life becomes And you get to go through your day with your energy up doing the things that you love. So I'm just going to leave you with a question. What experiences of you in your life are waiting to happen when you raise your voltage? Thank you.